Most people approach manifestation the same way they approach work. They push, they strain, they repeat affirmations with tension in their voice. Welcome to the Snips Media, a quiet space for timeless wisdom. Here, we explore the ideas, teachings, and inner truths that have guided humanity across centuries, not to tell you what to think, but to invite you to reflect. Today, we turn our attention to manifestation and why forcing it so often fails. Manifestation is often misunderstood. It is not about effort. It is not about chasing outcomes. And it is not about forcing reality to bend to your will. In fact, the more you force, the more resistance you create. This is not philosophy. It is how consciousness works. And once you understand why forcing fails, manifestation becomes simpler and far more natural. Most people approach manifestation the same way they approach work. They push, they strain, they repeat affirmations with tension in their voice. They visualize while secretly worrying it won't happen, and they wonder why nothing changes. The reason is subtle but precise. Reality does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are being. Forcing always carries a hidden message. That message is, I do not have. And whatever state you repeatedly occupy, you reinforce. When you force an outcome, you are announcing lack. When you chase, you affirm distance. When you struggle, you confirm resistance. Reality listens carefully and reflects it back. This is why forcing fails. Not because desire is wrong, but because tension contradicts fulfillment. You cannot arrive at peace through strain. You cannot arrive at abundance through desperation. You cannot arrive at alignment through control. The inner state must match the outer experience, always. Consider how things manifest naturally in your life. Breathing does not require effort. Sleep does not happen through force. Insight does not arrive through pressure. In fact, the moment you stop trying, these things occur. Manifestation works the same way. The state precedes the result. There is a difference between intention and force. Intention is calm. Force is anxious. Intention is clear. Force is tense. Intention assumes. Force begs. One aligns, the other resists. When you hold an intention without gripping it, you create space, and space is essential. Space allows movement. Space allows rearrangement. Space allows reality to respond. Forcing collapses that space. It traps you inside effort. This is why people who don't care anymore often see things finally work out. Not because they gave up, but because they released resistance. They stopped arguing with reality. They stopped trying to micromanage the how. They softened, and in that softness, things shifted. Manifestation is not an act of will. It is an act of alignment. Alignment happens when your inner world no longer contradicts your desire, when wanting becomes assuming, when effort becomes allowance, when striving becomes expectancy. Ask yourself this: if what I want were already true, how would I be breathing? How would I be speaking? How would I be moving through my day? That state is the doorway, not action, not pressure, not force. State. This is why forced affirmations feel hollow. Words spoken without embodiment carry no weight, but a quiet assumption, held consistently, reshapes perception, and perception shapes experience. Manifestation is not about controlling events. It is about stabilizing an inner position and allowing reality to reorganize around it. The river flows on its own. You do not push it forward, you remove the obstruction. Forcing fails because it treats life like an enemy to conquer. Alignment works because it treats life like a mirror to clarify. One fights reality, the other cooperates with it. The paradox is simple. The less you grasp, the more you receive. The less you chase, the closer it comes. The less you demand, the more naturally it unfolds. This does not mean inaction. It means right action, action that emerges from certainty, not fear, movement without panic, effort without strain, desire without desperation. When manifestation feels heavy, you are pushing. When it feels light, you are aligned. Pay attention to that feeling. It is your compass. Stop forcing outcomes. Stabilize the state. Let reality do the rest. Because what is meant to arrive does not need to be dragged into existence. It needs to be allowed, and allowance is the highest form of power. That is why forcing fails, and why alignment always works.